Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Good Caitlin Clark, star guard for the Indiana Fever, first team All WNBA as a rookie last year, missed the rest of the WNBA season. That is something no one wants to see happen. Well, no basketball fan wants to see happen. There are probably a lot of people that want to see it happen, but let's dig into this. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. Let's dig in. So Stephanie White the other day, I think before Tuesday, was asked about Caitlin Clark's injury, didn't really know anything, which of course irks some people. It's the head coach and her star player. She should be keeping tabs. And then we also have this from Chloe Peterson, the Indiana Star. She covers the Fever. Stephanie White says there's no update on Caitlin Clark on a potential timeline. Clark met with another doctor this morning, but White says she hasn't spoken with trainers about that. So two things that I want to dig into with this comment or this reporting. There's a follow up here, but also there's a lot going on now. Like we're seeing talk about Caitlin mistrusting the Indiana Fever staff. I know a lot of people, Fever fans, Clark fans, are like, "What is this staff doing? They didn't train her properly. They don't know what to do with her injuries. They brought her back too soon, and now that's created other injuries as well." So let's set the record straight on what all of this means, because Caitlin Clark is, I think I've even heard now where she's even talking to some other doctors. Obviously, she talked to some in New York, and it's becoming sort of a thing with regard to this trust with the Fever training staff, medical staff, whatever you want to call it. And of course, there have been times with athletes in any sport where there are issues in that way in terms of not getting the best advice for what to do with an injury, or saying a player or athlete is okay to return when they're really not, because, hey, who does the staff work for? But that being said, I think it's also important to note that this is nothing new. This is something that has happened quite often when a player has a serious injury, or maybe they're struggling to come back from an injury. It is something that is, back in the day, more when ACL was, even though it's obviously a very serious injury now, but it was more of almost definitely a career ender, and you're looking at different options in terms of what type of surgery and all that. Players absolutely will go outside of the team, especially when they have the money, and if they have the insurance to do it, they will go outside the team to get a second opinion or even a third opinion, because we are talking about their livelihood. Right? We're talking about their livelihood and their ability to continue to do what puts food on the table for them and their family. So it makes a lot of sense. And most teams do not take issue with that happening. So I would, well, now look, I'm not saying there isn't an issue with that, but I think it's important to state that this is not something that is uncommon, and that Caitlin Clark is suddenly the only one out there, and this is an indictment of the Fever training and medical staff, because it probably is not. It is something any athlete should do. I mean, come on, if you're Caitlin Clark, if you're that type of player, the all-time leading college scorer, came into the WNBA, tore things up your rookie year, you're looking forward to hopefully a long, productive career. You've never really had injuries before. I think the last time was in high school, and now you're having multiple issues with your legs, of all things, as a basketball player. Of course, you're going to do everything possible to make sure you have the best advice you can get on the best way forward to fully recover from these injuries so that you can continue your career. And if that means sitting out the rest of the season, that means sitting out the rest of this season. And that, if that is what's best for Caitlin Clark's career, that is what Caitlin Clark needs to do, regardless of what the rest of us might feel about it. Now, so I think it's important to make that clear and not make this a bigger issue than it really probably is with regard to the Fever staff. Now, does that mean there weren't issues with Caitlin Clark and the training in the offseason and the training staff? By the way, I am going to do that video. I've had enough people talk to me about it, so hopefully it does well. I'm going to get into it, because I'm still seeing more and more of, oh, it's because she bulked up. Oh, it's because of her strength training. Oh, it's because of this the staff in the off season and all this other stuff. Then I'm seeing a whole lot of stuff that simply isn't true. But the other thing to that point that I want to talk about, and look, I have nothing against Chloe Peterson. I think she does a really good job covering the Indiana Fever. And so please don't take this as going after Chloe. And I wouldn't even have divulged the name if it weren't right here in front of me. But I do think it's important to talk about as well, because a lot of people are upset with white for not knowing what's going on with their star player in terms of injuries, which I get because then we have a lot of people defending or saying, well, that shouldn't be talked about. And a lot of people say, oh, well, this is personal and we don't need to know. And and getting upset about people wanting to know the status of the injury and what it means in terms of Caitlin Clark's return. And I am with those people. Look, I get the initial, oh, it's private and this and that, but we're talking about professional athletes. The fans are the paying customers, especially when you get someone like Caitlin Clark, and people will travel across the country and pay obscene amounts of money and get hotel rooms and plane tickets or drive 10 hours and bring their kids to a once in a lifetime experience. Yeah, it is important to know. We've seen that with the NBA with the whole disastrous nonsense with this load management crap where fans are getting sick of going to games and the stars who are healthy are not even playing, but that's kind of a separate issue. But the point I want to get is the reality of the situation. And I don't know the I couldn't find anything specific to the WNBA, but I know in a lot of other sports, and I think probably the most well known is the NFL. And Chloe says here, see, this comment says, such a great coach, her star player. I don't know anything. She's with her medical team and it's day to day. Brings tear to your eyes now, doesn't it? And Chloe says, no coach in any sport has ever been straightforward about injury, especially in a fluid situation like CC's. First off, they're protecting the privacy of their players. And secondly, they're not entirely sure of the severity yet. That's the point of going to the doctors. However, she is completely incorrect and wrong with this statement. And Annika, I'm sorry, this breaks my heart. For those of you who don't know, Annika is a huge supporter of the channel. We interact a lot on X when I'm on there. Absolutely love her. We have a great back and forth relationship. And she says, thank you. This needed to be said. And I get it from a personal, emotional standpoint, but it is incorrect to say that this has never been done and they don't know and all of that. We'll go back to the comment up here. No coach in any sport has ever been straightforward about injury. No, that's just, in fact, the NFL has a policy. Exactly. Plus, it keeps their opponents guessing when game prepping. But no, 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 because we can go to the NFL where there are three sections to the policy: practice reports, game status reports, in game injury reports. The league policy states the information must be credible, accurate, timely, and specific within the guidelines of the policy, which is of paramount importance in maintaining the integrity of the game. Okay? Teams are required to be as specific as possible with the reporting of what body part is injured. Teams are not even allowed to use general terms like upper body. It needs to be wrist or ankle instead of leg or arm. Teams need to indicate left or right if the injury is to the arm or hand of a quarterback or to the leg or foot of a kicker or punter. Practice reports must list any player with a reportable injury and their level of participation in practice, even if a player takes all reps during the week. A reportable injury is considered any injury that causes the player to miss a game, prevents them from finishing a game, or prevents them from completing their normal practice workload. So to say that no coach in any sport has ever been straightforward about injury when it's actually a policy with regards to the NFL of all sports, the huge NFL, where you must not only disclose injury, but as you saw, be very, very specific about what the injury is. And yes, teams, because in fact, what I took off of this was because it didn't matter. This was a while back, but this was specific to who was it? This was specific to someone, where is it, San Francisco 49ers, and talking about whether they failed to properly report on Christian McCaffrey's calf injury. This was last year in September when he got hurt ahead of their Monday Night Football showdown with the New York Jets. And the NFL looked into whether or not the San Francisco 49ers did everything properly in reporting Christian McCaffrey's injury. So again, this is the the WNBA getting exposed from it. And this is why there are so many problems, right? Even above and beyond all the nonsense we talk about with the WNBA and their hatred of Caitlin Clark and all this other nonsense, even stuff that isn't necessary, isn't like, um, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? There's nothing terrible behind it. There's no agenda. It's just a lack of understanding of the sports world, even with reporters not having the knowledge or the experience dealing with stuff outside the WNBA to understand that no, this isn't normal. Yes, fans do have a, and it's not even just for fans. Like the NFL says, it's the integrity of the game, especially now when you have gambling being such an absolutely huge part of all sports. Someone was get on the uh, side note, but relevant. Somebody was getting on the Indiana Fever the other day because they said who's going to score more points in the first half, and they had a poll, Liberty or Indiana, and people were like, "Oh, this is so ridiculous. Why are we even doing this about the first half?" I guess some people were also taking it as the Fever, thinking they're not going to win, but maybe they can outscore the Liberty in the first half, which, by the way, did happen. But it was in conjunction with FanDuel because the Indiana Fever, I believe, have a deal with FanDuel. So it was a marketing tweet by the Indiana Fever, from which I'm sure they got paid by FanDuel, because if you went on FanDuel and you have FanDuel, that was something you could bet on. You can bet on just about anything nowadays with the legalization and smartphones. And all the computerized technology and everything. You can bet on just about anything. So yes, coaches in many sports have to be, as a policy from the professional league itself, straightforward about injuries. So no, this whole privacy thing or just not having to do it and all that is completely untrue. It is untrue. Welcome to the wide world of sports, WNBA. Hope you can adapt and survive. And that goes for all the media as well. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I just wanted to clear up a couple of things with regard to Caitlin Clark's injury that I thought were relevant and important. And yes, I am working on this. The strength training is, it's something that takes a little more prep. I want to get it right. I want to be clear and concise and give you information that you might find is important and clear up a lot of things that are going on. But smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you so much. Go have the day you deserve. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Some people get upset with that because they're like, I deserve a terrible day. Why are you doing this to me? Oh, man, I'll talk to you later.